So I'm going to see if I can record the elevation of the Warrior Mound now. Hold on a minute. Right, so I'm going to see if I can record the elevation of this Warrior Mound to see how high it is, because if it's around the same height as Old Oswestry, that is the height that Hillforts are and that they had Hillforts. If it's nowhere near that height or a completely different height, then I don't think that you could claim it's a Hillfort. I've got some side elevation photos of Old Oswestry to compare to it. Now the thing is that Silbury Hill, even though it's not got much space on top of it, the height of it is the same Hillfort height. So they were working towards those heights. The thing about Silbury Hill is that it was white in chalk, so they're saying, when it was in use, but it's got a small area on top of it, but it's still symbolic of that height in a structure, so it figures into their landscape. We're at 66 meters now, so this road we're on now is about the normal land level, 66 meters. Now I'll check the other sides of it and we'll see what the change in elevation is from 66 meters. Right, so we're about at 66 meters. In fact, it goes down a bit from 66 meters because that's like the natural surroundings around it, around here. And then you've got the river. I mean, there's that little stream, well, stream, it's more a stream than a river, but you've got this little stream as well. But 66 meters, if we say that this, I think I'm going to be going down 2 meters. So this is the road level, right? This is one of the entrances to it, through this little gap here into forest. We're 65 meters now, so there's a little stream. It's a bit muddy actually. I'm at 64 meters now. Actually, I think that is built up there, you know, because there's a bridge over there. So really, I mean, if it was nature and natural around here, so we've got a couple of meters to play with, you know. We've got, like, you know, I reckon it's fair to give it 5 meters to play with for the exact site of Old Oswestry, the exact height of Old Oswestry. But I think as long as it's, you know, somewhere around that height, then it's not totally different. I reckon that it is Hillfort, particularly with all the, and getting a photograph of it that you could compare with Oswestry, because with the houses, this looked, when you look at the houses on top, they look tiny, then it makes this look massive. But because visual access has been blocked off all the way around, you can't really get a good look at it as comparison from size, from ground level, looking at it. So I think I'm quite happy with this level here, with all that woodland there. I think this woodland is a good starting point at 63 meters. Now we could go that way or we could go this way. So 63. Gone to 64 already. So from 63 meters. There's been some things I've been thinking about to do with Castle Hill as well, and I wanted to voice all these it's a beautiful street. I will come back that way actually. You see, with us having Emily Moor Mast in West Yorkshire, right, it is like a massive pole or a massive post, right? And that fits in the word. That word fits with the Brigantes bridge, which they're saying in Celtic it's a mast or pier or pole or elongation. And long barrows are elongations, and a pier And when you're at the top of it, you look out, and it's also for broadcasting, which is like projecting outwards. Really, like the Celtic language has got certain words for, it doesn't necessarily mean one thing, but more an expression. So like out of like beaming out, projecting out, then it's actually a broadcasting tower. Now, the thing is, right, what I've been thinking of is this. My theory is that our sites here, particularly Cambodium, Castle Hill and Dunelm, Meltham Cop, they are exactly long barrow shapes, and the huge ones. And if it is anything to do with religious sacrament, right, and supplying it, which we've got a large supply in this area from the edge of the Pennines and all around that area, and the actual Pennine Ridge, the shape of it is an elongation. That ridge, that Pennine area where we are, is an elongation itself in shape. The actual whole ridge. Now, I think that it's the base of the long barrows, the long barrow culture headquarters. That's what I think, because there's three main sites within certain distance of each other, right? Now, because of the river, right? Because the river, it's a direct route to the sea, right? And with the river starts in the mountains and flows to the sea, and then you can go around the coast. And we know those people were coastal people, because that's what Neil Oliver and people like that are saying. Oh, they were coastal people, all these Orkney Islands, and all islands were interlinked, and there was loads of culture there and all around the islands, even down the Isles of Scilly. They were around coastal people. If you've got a resource in the middle of the country and you can distribute it out to all around these coastal places, you see all those long, I'm not saying that they're exactly on at the seaside, all of the long barrows and cairns, but they are distributed around the coast or at high places. All around Wales there's all cairns there, all around Scotland, Cornwall and the islands, and around, that's where the French ones are, right? So it would make sense. The thing is, we are at the heart of the island. I don't really want to upset any Scottish people, because I love Scotland and I like Scotland, and I'm not saying there aren't any major centres or bases in Scotland as well, but that river coming out the side, it is more or less at the heart of the island, and with that river, it's almost like umbilical cord sort of symbology going to the ocean. And the latitude, you know, the latitude, it's the same level as Newgrange, Noaf and Doaf. And the river's at the same level. And it goes out, it's like a copy of it across, like as if you did made a stamp print of it across, except the island is more symmetrical and round shaped than England, which is more elongated. Right, and the thing with Noaf, Doaf and Newgrange are they're not as far inland as us, but there is a very, very prominent similarity in layout. So I think that's significant. You can't ignore that, you know. Now, I think that the long barrows, at least of Britain and Scotland, or a lot of them, I think that it's connected from here. And it was said the Brigantes. It said that the Brigantes was here, and it was one of the main tribes. And I don't think the Romans told us everything and written everything down properly. So I think, shall we go straight up elevation? I might start walking straight up, or I could go up the footpath. There's not really much evidence of it being filled in. I thought it might have had certain, you know, fortifications around it, but maybe it was just like this. It's steep enough. I really think that we were the centre of the long barrows. It's symbolic, and we've got the sites for it, right? And why haven't we might have had some other cairns and things that you go inside. They might have been destroyed. There's no evidence of them now. If they did a good job of destroying them, we might have had some places like Noaf and Doaf, right? But from what we have got, it definitely is similar in position and layout, but a little bit different in symbology and meaning, because we've got these elongations, long barrows, big ones. Now, the thing with the male symbology, right, is elongated, like the male sex organ. And that organ is, we know that organ is rubbed and not gone inside, right? And it's actually important. That's important, because if you've got 3 big long barrows that are male symbology, right, then if you're on top of them, right, if you're on them, it is symbolic of not entering in it and going inside like the female. And there's 3 big sites here. There's this one I'm on now, Castle Hill and Dunelm. And this is, it is shaped as something which is a liberty shape. And the liberty shape is like the Celtic helmet shape. And the name of Helm fits that. An Agbrig bridge fits the other 2 sites. Because they are bridges in a way like piers. And what we have for a pier now is going out, an elongation out onto the water, which is like the Scottish Crannogs, you know. They've got bridges going out to houses. So I think that is a very, very strong theory, because those big 3 sites, Newgrange, Noath and Dowth, and the thing about Newgrange, Noath and Dowth is this, right? They are within a certain area that's closely grouped, and one of them, Noath, has got loads of little baby mounds around it. It's almost like the kids around the mother and all the women sort of staying around the same area or closer together, and the connectedness of the females, the sort of real strong relationship and bonds females have being close together. Now the thing with these sites here, and then it's also along the river runs underneath those sites. Now here the river sort of runs above these sites, right, or goes around them, because there's actually 2 rivers, but these are spaced a little bit further out apart, right? And that is symbolic to the male anyway. When the male goes out hunting, he spreads out, he goes out, and when the men go out, they kind of separate and go out into the woods or the land. They're aligned with each other, which those long barrow sites are aligned, but they're more spread out. So if you think about when a man goes out, you know, on ships or on boats or into the valleys, in between the valleys, you know, it's almost like the man's going out and venturing into the landscape and rubbing against the landscape, isn't it? You know, it's a little bit like on Star Wars when he's flying the fighter through the channel, you know, through the channel, which is kind of what I was thinking, you know. So I strongly believe that because of if it wasn't for those rivers being at essentially the same level, copied from Ireland to England, and England itself is an elongation, whereas Ireland is more symmetrical and round, and then you've got those 3 major sites. We know there are other sites in Ireland, like there's some massive dolmens, there are big ring forts and stuff like that, but those 3 sites they know are very, very, very significant, right? And it's the number of them and the distance is spread apart by the river, right? And here we've got those huge long barrows by the river, and they're spread out a little bit further between each other. In fact, the distance between 2 of them is double the distance between this and the other one. So we've got this distance to Castle Hill, which is, you just can't quite see it till we get to the top. When we get to the top, you'll be able to see it. And then it goes twice the distance. So from here to Castle Hill, and then from the other one to the other one is exactly more or less double. Well, it is exactly double actually, so I've measured it. So there's that. Now, as for more modern times, they knew that this area was important, which is why they built the Emlyn Moor mass transmitter, which you can just sort of see through those trees, and they built it. I'm not trying to show off and make a point or anything. It's all just factual and kind of what people have done and why. I'm not really trying to big up the place, because I love all the sites I was trying to kind of sort of like talk about what's happened and what's going on. They put that mast there, right? After, it was around the time just before Tolkien passed away, and as I've said in the other videos, there was loads of symbology going on with Lord of the Rings as well, right? Which is like Marsden, Morden and all that, right? Now, the thing with the mast, what I've been thinking is this, in terms of what I've said. have we got anything in tradition, in the history and tradition of this island, right? Or the people, or folk cultures or anything, which might have reminded us something, or they might have tried to put a memory or put knowledge into a story or song or anything, what might try and remember about the brigantes, which can also mean pier, mast or pole or projection, right? And I've been thinking of the Morris dancing, and you know that the maypoles, yeah, they've got the maypole. The maypole is a mast, an elongation, a projection, right? So, and what they do with the maypole is they've all got strands which are connections to it. They're all connected to it, and then they all go out and they all go around it in a circle and do a dance around it. They all dance round the elongation. Now you might think, oh well, that's male or phallic. Well, those long barrow ships are male and phallic, and they're meant to mean not also just an elongation or a pier, but also a mast. Now, if you think of the symbol I've said of, if these long barrows, if they are giant long barrows that are dwelled upon, right, and if they are connected to all the little long barrows around, right, which you can either, some of them you go on, some of them you go inside, right, some of them are temples, some of them, they're saying that there are burials, but not all are burials. Some of them are actually temples and chapels of the ancient peoples. Now, I strongly believe, right, that if you think of going around the island, around the coastline, which Neil Oliver says that they were coastal people because that's how the whole thing of Orkney came to be and why it was so densely populated. In prehistoric terms, it was important, but so were the Scilly Isles, because they've still got those structures on the... we weren't told about a lot of the Scilly Isles ones. All the information, archaeologists might have known about them, but I can tell you that the general public, they were more promoted about holidays to go on to Lanzarote and stuff like that. I used to type in on the internet, and not a lot of that information was up there, and when you type stuff and it didn't show up, I could have gone to a lot of those Anglesey chambers a lot of times, but it just wasn't coming up. I think the information and knowledge of it had been suppressed, right? And that's why it's important that ancient cultures try to preserve knowledge in songs, but also disguise it. If there were people trying to eradicate your religion or history or past or culture and beliefs and practices, you need to try and do it in songs and remember it, but not also so people will like change it or erase it and try and, you know, make people forget it, which that's a lot of what happened, you know. I think that going round the coastline, right, and going round the maypole, all with a connection to it, is very much like if we go out to the sea on the river and then go around the islands like they did in Ireland as well, you know. And the Wicklow Hills, it's starting to snow I think now, and the Wicklow Hills are right by the sea, but you know, all the Irish sites are not exactly on the coast, but a lot of them are sort of coastal like here, right? So I think that maypole is a good example, which is sort of symbolic to that, and it's got the male part as well, which goes with it, like the Brigantes pole in the middle, you know. So there's that. I've just got a map. In fact, someone's going to do a drawing for me, like a map of this kind of vale, yeah. And I'm going to do one as well, just to set it out so you can sort of see it, because it's nice to actually have a proper picture of it. I'm going to do it kind of like in old sort of prehistoric style. But there are a lot of things in movies like Lord of the Rings and a lot of other things that clearly have got certain gestures and symbolism towards all this, right? And I've been thinking, you know, all those maps like the Speed map and the Jeffries map and things like that, Jeffries is the more accurate of the maps, that is more honest. But the other maps, drawing things in the wrong place or not putting them on or changing the names and things like that, right? That Speed map, he puts this, right, this mound, well, we don't know whether it's this or Camberdunham because he only draws one, not two. And he puts it at Artshead, which is where Robinhood's grave is, where there isn't a mound there. There is not a mound there. But he draws this caricatured mound, right, and he doesn't put it in the right place. And it's to do with maps. And that's the first evidence of people not being straight with us and people trying to mislead us about this area, because there are important major sites that people are going out of the way to inaccurately put down and mislead us with on the maps. So immediately that is evidence that there's something strange going on, which is what happens with the ICI, with the Victoria Tower, and with all this getting built up and visual access blocked off as well, right? Now, think of a film where there's an issue with a map. What film is there where there's some sort of issue with a map? And it is the Time Bandits. It is the actual Time Bandits, because they've got the map, right? That blue map. And then they've got God chasing after them saying, "Oh, take back what you have stolen." And it always kind of makes me think the property of the Queen, because that God character they have on there, it kind of makes me think of the Money. You know, on the Money they try and make the Queen look more masculine, and he's sort of like chasing after these, you know, guys with the maps or whatever, and it's it's very reminiscent of property of the Queen, and like, you know, the map makers, because if you put all the information on the map and tell the truth and accurate, and then there's that part in it say, you know, bring back the map, it will bring you great danger. Well, it always seems to me that whenever I'm doing something like my campaigns and protesting and something like that, or trying to get petitions or do something that's really important and serious, there always seems strange things happening, weird things happening, and you don't really know where it's coming from. Like, you know, things get deleted or you get blocked, or just very, very, very unusual things, you know, and it's got that theme all in it, that, you know, that kind of some sort of, as if you've been threatened, you know what I mean, to discontinue your course of action, which is sort of like what George Galloway was saying, you know, when he made that statement to the Queen, he was going like, you know, I beseech you to cease this course of action or whatever. So I think it is pretty serious. And I think that Time Bandits film, actually Ridley Scott at the moment, at this exact time now, Ridley Scott's filming a Napoleon film somewhere down south. I'm not sure exactly where he's filming it, but you see, they've got Napoleon in that film, in the Time Bandits film, they've got Napoleon. That's one of the main scenes, like when they're doing that, when the little midget guys go on and they're doing that sort of comedy sort of thing, you know. So I think that map in the Time Bandits film, you know, there were lots of other things like in the American. I think the Americans with Star Trek, and you know, they've got Sir Patrick Stewart, who's from here, and then they've got Kirk, and who did the book and writing about this mound that I'm on now? Who did the talk and mention of it in the book? And actually gave us the proper name that the locals said was a warrior's tomb, right? Which if anything happened when the Romans came, it's far from the warrior's tomb. I think it would be more like the druid's tomb. But you know, I'm not sure which way to go, this way or that way now. That goes back down again, up this way. Right, I'm up now. It's snowing, or kind of sleeting. So we're at 101 metres, 102 metres, 100, it's saying 102 now. So this is about 100 metres high. 100 metres. Oh no, sorry, I've got to take it's not 100 metres. Because I've got to take off that other that we started at, remember, so 100 minus the other. Right, so we're at 102 now. Minus what we started off from. Which is that something around 30? And I can't even remember now what Oswestry is, but I think it might have been around 30. We're going to go to the other side. I'm not too sure how far around you can get. Right, so this side is 102. forgot what I was saying now. We're talking about that map. So we're still at 102. You can actually see Castle Hill exactly from here. Through there, you can see the Victoria Tower. So you can, it's not a coincidence, you can actually see exactly, but it's how you see it that it's perfectly level. It's so perfectly visible, just the platform top of it exactly, that it wouldn't be that exact perfect visibility if you didn't want you to see it. And it's almost, it's just like when you're on Pool Hill and you look across and you can just see Castle Hill from right at the other side of Marsden. You can just see it in the same way, and you can see it in the exact same way that you can see Castle Hill here, from here. You just see it just above the platform, just coming up exactly like that. And when you're at Pool Hill at Marsden, Morden, right, when you look at Castle Hill, you can just see it. And you won't see this from Marsden because it's lower down, and you won't see Dunelm either. We're at 103 now. Oh, it was 100. It just went to 103. I'm going down a bit here. It did go to 103. I'm trying to remember. I was talking about the time bandits in that map, and then they get onto Ridley Scott. So that goes back down again. The street's going to be higher up. Still saying 102, but I've come up a bit now. Oh, it's gone to 3. It went to 103, but it's going back down again now at this side. It's such a shame, because the thing is, if it's a heritage site, it's now private land of loads of separate people, which is a bit of a shame, because that means that you haven't got the right to, if we don't have the right to go and look at it, and you can't even do any archaeology now. Look, what if there's important archaeology into here? It's a bit upsetting, really. It's been blocked off. We're like being obstructed from doing archaeology on it on purpose, I think. And I don't even think that was the original real entrance up, which is upsetting as well. Because there could have been something on this side of it to investigate. We don't know where the real original entrance was. It's a shame that there's people alive now who played in the field on the top of here before the houses, before 1960. We've been told that it's about 1960. It was around 1960 when it was built. These are kind of like there's a little yard that you come into, and there's a couple of garage sheds and some units. So there's that snicket on the other side, and then on this side, I quite like that old shed. And it's just all rubble and rubbish now. Look at these, look at those wheelbarrows. And then it all got quarried out here, look. They dug it out. They wanted an excuse to dig into it, to see if they were out in there, and to try and vandalise the shape of it. This is the side of it that's like makes Liberty Cap shape. I think they were going to try and get rid of it so it didn't look like that shape anymore. That's one thing that Jeffries doesn't do on his map though. On that map that Jeffries does, yeah, the Jeffries map, he does Camber Dunham and Dunelm, but he doesn't draw them. He doesn't draw this in a liberty shape that it is. He doesn't make this a liberty shape. He makes it circular shaped when it's not. And he doesn't really. He puts Dives House, and then if you look at all the maps, it's got Upper Helm written by it, and it's like that's what the village is by Dunelm. Helm. So there's a name connection between this and Dunelm, you know. I mean, I just really don't like what Kirklees Council are doing to the town centre. I don't like what Kirklees Council are doing to anything. They're not the type of council with experience in this, because they were only formed in 1974 on the 1st of April of all days, and they just don't have. We rapidly lost. We had the Yorkshire Agricultural Show, and at that point I think Huddersfield was promising. It could have been somewhere like Wiltshire, Heritage, and then they just the amount of building they've had here compared to Dorchester and Oswestry. Talk about being competitive. The spread of urban spread, and we're not even in town now, out of town by an ancient site which is not in the town. You'd think that the town centre would have, just spread out evenly from the town centre, but it's like they targeted out of town on purpose around this. And we're actually about 100 years. Dorchester hasn't even really spread out hardly that much in perimeter, neither has Oswestry. We're actually like 100 years ahead, which means really this council, never mind being formed on the 1st of April, it should be shut down. And really I think that we need to stop for 50 years, stop building things which the council will be really annoyed of, because it's a highly competitive council, but what they've been doing is not progress. What they've been doing is actually damage. And even when you go on the websites now, they're doing stuff to the town centre that people aren't happy with. The locals just don't like it, and there doesn't seem to be anything that you can do about it. Some trees being pulled out here and some burning. Apparently this site wasn't burned though. They're saying that Castle Hill suffered burning. I think that Castle Hill was, because of its shape, long barrow shape, I think that got burned. I don't trust Varley, because the thing with Varley is, right, this is what I've got to say to all the archaeologists, right, all the archaeologists who say, oh yeah, they're all professionals and they're all, got integrity and all this education and accuracy, but why is it that we're going into schools and 10 years ago we were being taught things in schools that was accepted, and now you're going and so it's been disproved? So not in that situation, well, they weren't lying, but they were just wrong, right? Now, the thing is this, what about Speed? Now, Speed was affiliated with the Royals, because Speed was in a guild, and he actually did tailoring or something like that of clothes, and Speed ended up doing tailoring in a guild, and then he ended up mixing with the Royals as well, and then he ended up being either himself, he chose to go map all of England with those Speed maps, or some major parts of England, right? And he went and did that. He was from near Oswestry, I think it was near Tattenhall or somewhere like that, kind of northeast of Oswestry anyway, so we will have been aware of Oswestry Hillfort, right? That Speed guy did maps, and he meant to be a professional map maker for the nation, and he put false information on those maps about ancient sites, right? And then you get this whole thing from, the Time Bandits, the little guys who have got this blue map, and it's meant to be really important to show all these important things like those, time rules and stuff like that. And then you've got this, God character chasing after him or whatever, going, you'll bring a great danger, give back what you've stolen, as if it's like, as if the swans or something, the Queen. That Speed map and the other maps that have been errors being done on purpose, when those guys weren't that inaccurate, They were quite accurate, actually. It's ancient sites and names, when they didn't want to properly put it on the map properly for whatever reasons. Were they acting to serve to protect it, or did they want to mislead people, you know? Because if people got hold of the maps, and they might have, you know, but at the end of the day, you know, they put Stonehenge on the map, so why not the other places? And it's because it's taboo. It's because of the area. It is because of the area, you know. So that's why I don't trust Varley, you know, because I don't think that there was a well on the top of Castle Hill, and to call it Castle Hill takes away the idea in your mind that there is a big long barrow shape. It is a hill fort, but to have it on a castle, it's not a castle. It might have sort of been a castle when you know, when De Lacy came over. But, you know, the thing is, right, that people have put inaccurate information on maps, professionals, and they're associated with Alex Hogg as well, right? And there's another film on TV, Boss Hogg. Alex Hogg was affiliated royally, right? And then what they do in America in the Dukes of Hazzard is the good old boys, the old boys, the good and old boys, right, who, battery's just gone on my other phone now. I hope it recorded what I was talking about. Well, because I did a massive long talk and battery's just gone on it. So I'll continue on this phone, which I was doing the altitude with. But I've done the altitude measurements now, so I don't need to use this phone for altitude measurements. So I've got on to the Dukes of Hazzard. You see, the Americans, what I was saying before is that's what I'm just carrying on from where I forgot from last time, right? So this is important, right? The Americans, they acknowledge this area with the fact that it's Chas P. Hobkirk who talks about this hill, which is the one near Castle Hill, right? Hobkirk, Kirkheaton and Kirkburn. Not only Kirkheaton and Kirkburn, but Hobkirk. And then you get the Starship Enterprise, which has got two thrusters on it that are like two long barrow elongations. And then we end up with Sir Patrick Stewart, who's from Huddersfield, being captain of the ship. Now, if that ain't gesturing towards that, then I think you're just being ignorant, right? And then, you know, and other programmes like Dukes of Hazzard, now we've got Bo and Luke Duke, right? Bo and Luke, and a bow. I've done the entire video on Robin Hood's grave, and when he shoots an arrow from a bow where it's going to land, it's going to be buried, and burial mounds are meant to be where people die, and this was called Warrior's Tomb, right? And Castle Hill, supposedly, according to Varley, got shaped by De Lacy into a bow shape at the front, which is like the bow of a ship, the front, and it points straight towards this mound, which I've covered that extensively in the other videos. Now, if that ain't the Americans, and it's next to the Pennine Hills, which is where we're claiming we get the resource from, and all the water comes down from. Now, what happens in the Dukes of Hazzard, it's like the good old boys, not bad, like the good old boys, never up to no harm, and then he says back up in the hills is where they were born, and then the brew moonshine up in the hills, which is kind of gesturing or lending to something illicit coming from the hills, you know. So I'm not saying that you haven't even thought of that, because I think many people have thought of it and we're aware of it, but I don't think that you thought of it in the sense and clicked to why the Americans making references and gestures to it in not only Star Trek and not only Dukes of Hazzard and things like that, but we're getting the ICI chemical factory got banged on here, and then, you know, put MMR mast up, and then, you know, this gets visual access blocked off, and then houses plonked on it, and then urbanised all around it, what was a beautiful, amazing valley, you know, and the river was only just there. In fact, the river's not far at all. I wanted to take a photograph, but I can't get onto. You can't take a photo. There's someone took a beautiful photo of Newgrange from the Bruna Boyne the other day with like beautiful nature photo, right? And you can see Newgrange from the Bruna Boyne, right? I can't now go over there to the river, right, and take a nice photograph of Warrior's Tomb Hill from that river, because not only is visual access being blocked off, but they've put the ICI on there, so it's private. You can't go on there unless you work for the management, and you can't go on here. Now they put private people's on, and the private people don't even have a decent view around here. So it's all. And Kirklees Council being formed after they did this, after they sealed off all possible archaeology on there in a serious manner, you know, they weren't messing around. And then, you know, they thought, oh, well, on April Fool's Day, we'll create Kirklees Council. And now Kirklees Council, it is a joke because the style and fashion of what they're doing to the area is terrible. They've just got no taste at all. They're even putting like tree prisons up in the town centre, like metal. They're meant to be fake trees, but it's like prisons to hold trees. They're even trying to imprison trees. They've got barriers up coming out of the floor, all sorts. We're falling under an authoritarian state. Now, all that, why I say it's relevant is because when you're talking about the history of an area, when you go to the Ridgeway, when you go to anywhere and you're talking about the ancient history, what's relevant is the modern history, because the modern history, if we go walking on the Ridgeway now, it's now. What's happening on the Ridgeway now? Oh, you know, people are going, there's people in the group going taking photos, then they might be trying to build a hotel, holiday home there and all these other things. It's relevant to now. You can't talk about a site now if you can't look around there and describe what's going on and influence, artistic influences. For me to talk about the films like the Dukes of Hazzard and Star Trek and things like that with symbols and motifs gesturing to his area, even a guy, an actor from this area, it's a film is art. It's art, you know, and you're making artistic references to it, you know, and all those maps drawn on it are references to it, you know. So I mean, there is a ridge here, but I think that, I don't know how that ridge got there, but I don't think it goes all the way around, or it kind of slopes down that way. I think that's another footpath. I'll have to go under this tree branch. It's almost like it's a little bit like the tree branch in Lord of the Rings, but it's a bit different. There is something like that down there actually. I am wondering, I actually seriously wonder if this was shaped like Oswestry and they dug it out and smoothed it over, or if it just was a Hillfort that was a bit different shape to usual ones because it had more significance of the place that it's in with the formation of those other long barrows, because those long barrows aren't your standard usual Hillfort. They're religious centre. It's like the Hillforts for the religious centre, which are shaped and symbolic for that religious order of the long barrows. There's no doubt, I don't think there's any doubt about it. And I think it's really serious when we've got all these official people like Speed, Jeffries, Alex Hogg doing misinformation on maps with intent, right? So my final point really is that Varley, I say now to all the archaeologists in England, right, who claim to be experts and professionals to a high degree and standard, right, I claim to you, right, professionals in the past who are affiliated, we know they're affiliated with certain royal interests, right, they've put misinformation on maps or wrong information to mislead people, and it's on that map. I'll name them: Alex Hogg, Jeffries, John Speed. I just named them, right? Put misinformation on maps, but they're professional cartographers, right? So instead of using the excuse, oh, we got it wrong in 1950, but we taught it at schools, now there's an updated version, we got it wrong. It's not just a matter of getting it wrong. There were intentional mistakes on maps on purpose from one affiliated camp, right? Now, I want to know, right, if Castle Hill's got loads of small wells around the outside of it, which they claim it has got small wells around its perimeter, why would it have a massive well in the middle, right? Particularly being a male symbolic structure, not female symbolic structure. Why did Varley insist that there's a well there and then ended up digging down into it? He was obsessed with finding out if there was anything buried under there, or if there was anything, any chambers or something hidden. Don't tell me he wasn't. He was absolutely eager to find, he was itching to find out if there's anything buried under it. And he will make up excuses, lies and misinformation just so he can dig it. Which is what they've done there, what I showed you before. Oh, we'll have a quarry here. Oh, will you? Oh, we'll see if there's, oh, Warrior's Tomb, is it? They just wanted to have an excuse to dig out of it and see if there's anything buried there, right? And then Varley discredits it And then the next thing, even while Valley's excavating Castle Hill, they're banging houses on it. So there won't be any further investigations or radio scans to find out where the exact round hut was, you know. And then this area, without previously no name of Waterloo whatsoever, it ends up being called Waterloo, which is a toilet. Even though I agree that in prehistoric times he had water coming past it, and it would be nice to imagine it kind of sailing around on boats, but the loo part, not keen on that, right? And we know visual access has been blocked off because they blocked up at the Freemasons' Arms and put a horrible quarry up there, which is put like a horrible. It's sort of trying to be like the horse in a way, you know. So I'm not happy with archaeologists because, you know, you get all this money and research put into Orkney, into recumbent circles, into Stonehenge, all these other places, right? And all we get is this film and cinematographic sort of gestures and mocking. We get this sort of making stupid films, you know, like Bo and Luke Duke references, you know, and the Robin Hood references, and then, you know, Jean-Luc Picard. That's the treatment we get, right? Is it some sort of veneration and celebration, or is it a joke? Because the reality is, look at the horror of what's happened. It's almost like we've written it off now, basically. Like the imperial powers believe they've written it off. They believe that they've successfully written it off, and the 1st of April Council, if you do it, you know, they sealed that off, and then if you do it after, you know, if you do it after the 1st of April or whatever, but they did it before. They formed Kirklees Council on the 1st of April, right? And this is what these academics do. So I'm telling all these academics now, right? I have done another campaign where I found the police have been putting out things illegally, hunting people and misleading them, breaking the law on purpose, and they've been trying to get away from it, right, and run away from it. So I'm saying to these archaeologists now, right, all the archaeologists who are honest, but there are some archaeologists who really shouldn't be archaeologists because they don't really know how to evaluate and look at information properly, right? They don't even know what they're looking at when they're looking at it, right? So there's a mixture of that. There's a mixture of lack of capacity, but then there are the ones who know about it and are affiliated with a certain camp that is, you know, takes disfavour to it. So, you know, those are the issues. We've got issues, you know, and now even the main news is sort of picking up on it in Australia. They're actually saying that, you know, there's some even like I'll put the video link, you know. Some beautiful daffodils up here. Somebody's put some out. This little bit's nice here. They've done something nice with the garden, you know. It's like daffodils. These bits here are actually nice, this top of the hill bit here. There's actually, at least has managed to keep something that's kind of nice. So we're at 103 meters, the top of this hill, the other side goes lower down. So the highest reading I've got is about 103, so because I'm holding it in my hand, maybe it's only about 102, but I think down there, I think it was about 66 meters. But this is a really nice little side here. So I've done another video, I don't know if you want to watch that or not, because it's got quite a lot in it, it's quite heavy, but it's to do with artistic matters and other matters that are important. And particularly with the Ridgeway, you know, they might be wanting to develop that now and put holiday complex near it. So I think that people in the Ridgeway group are probably going to want to try and protect it. We'd want to. These are the nice daffodils. But this is the only kind of bit of it that's nice now. The other side, this side's kind of nice, and the other side has been turned into a dump with sort of old sheds and storage units and like discarded things where the side's been quarried out of. But that unfortunately is kind of at like the nab shape end. There is a footpath that comes out onto it. If there was all trees before, it would have looked quite spectacular, I think. So there's so much, the speed map and the Jeffries map and the Alex Hogg map, all, you can walk down that way, I haven't been honest about this site. Crazy to imagine that in just before 1960, people who are still alive were actually playing in the field on top of this. And now it's just a normal, it's like Brookside Close, isn't it? And there is actually a brook at the side of it, which is funny. That stream or brook at the side of it, I just thought Brookside Close, and it is close to it, isn't it? Brookside Close. Which is, it's got to be the most significant. I mean, I thought Castle Hill was enough of a bit of comedy with buildings and driving up onto it, but one of those houses has just been sold anyway. I didn't think of Brookside Close before. I've just been thinking about the Time Bandits and that map. You know, they've got the map, and on the Time Bandits map, it's all about the map, isn't it? You know, the map of all these important time places, almost like a time hole. It's almost like the Alex Hogg map and the John Speed map and the Jeffries map. They've got these time, well, it's going back in time, isn't it? It's history, and it's your history, and your history is, at the end of the day, power to change things and do things. So with that map, with the map actually having the accurate places on and to letting you know where they are and what they are, you know what the area is important for, and about the people, which is like kind of travelling through time and stuff like that, you know. That's what's happening now with Ridley Scott, you know. He's making that film. I've got the altitude's 103 metres, so we're going down this side. It's almost like, you know, like when I was saying that, you know, even though there's certain people who are knights, they always end up being a little bit porky or unhealthy, or, you know, like Terry Wogan. It's almost like they get knighted and they become these important people, like Sir Ridley Scott and Terry Wogan and other people, but yet they've got this, you know, they're only allowed to do this or they're only allowed to do that. It's almost like, you know, Alex Hogg and Jeffries and John Speed, you know, they can't draw the map properly, they can't put the right bits on the map, or they'll be in trouble, sort of thing, you know. They get the God character chasing after them like the Queen's face on the £10 note, going, give back what you have, return what you have stolen from me. Well, what I've stolen is the actual prestige of this being not prestigious in a way. It's stealing the significance away from this. It gives us significance and prestige to other camps and authorities and jurisdictions. So I think there's little time holes on the map. It's almost like we've missed a time window and then they bang that on, you know. Whereas if you'd have found out, if Varley straight away had said, whoa, just a minute, I'm excavating this, but there's like 3 sites all close together. 2 of them are massive long barrows and a massive Hillforts pointing the same way as Oswestry, and this is right by the river that goes to the sea by the Pennines, and the Brigantes were known for this area, and the Romans didn't tell the truth. Whoa! And then you get like, it's like almost Doctor Who, it's like the flashing light on the top of the TARDIS, Doctor Who going off. But what happened is Varley didn't, and then the war started. The war started. There was a war on, wasn't there? There was a war on. Even got the picture of King George signing the visitors book over at ICI. And what I was saying on the other video is somebody put a beautiful picture of the Bruna Boyne. Looking up the Newgrange from the river, Bruna Boyne, beautiful picture. And you can't take that picture here because A, all of the buildings, and B, you can't actually get to the river because the river now is part of within the ICI Zenica Syngenta complex. well, now it's called Syngenta. Before that it was Zenica, and before that it was Imperial Chemical Industries. And there's some interesting sites up on the hillside on Dalton Bank there, looking down, which are beautiful vantage points of the whole valley from this side, whereas Marsden at Pool Hill, you can just see Castle Hill over the top of the ridge. Not unlike, in the same way, and sort of the same, you can just see the platform of it exactly as you can from here to Castle Hill. Well, if you can just make it out through the trees, that is. Obviously, if it was all forest here in prehistoric times, then you wouldn't have been able to see the river. But if this was part of the river, because, you know, this brook that comes past it, Brookside Close, if there was like no trees here, then you would have been able to see it. But, you know, we don't even, like Stonehenge say, oh, there were trees or there weren't trees. On Dartmoor they say there were trees, there weren't trees. We don't even get the merit of a proper archaeological investigation, because it's all been shut off. You know, it's been, literally has been bombed by concrete, you know. And then there was that bomb that just missed that dumb steeple, that Liberty symbol of dumb steeple. God, it's sleeting now. Oh, look, little snowballs. Little snowballs coming down. So there's a lot happening, you know. There's a war breaking out now. When I'm sort of ringing alarm bells about this place. And the thing is, I'm worried that other people are trying to think we're showing off or something, you know, that we've got some more importance than anyone else, when it's not at all. I mean, they don't think that about Newgrange. It's the fact that it's our local area in history, and it's been vandalised, and it's upsetting. And the thing is, it's the same culture and people, and they weren't opposed to each other and arguing with each other, in fact. The Uffington and Stonehenge and Oswestry and Maiden Castle, you know, and all the sites around the coast, and even the Scottish, we shouldn't really be fighting and arguing with each other, really. But this is a major significant ancient site. Now they've even got planes flying over threatening with noise, where the Green Party are talking about threatening planes flying over people as well. Can't really see it 'cause it's foggy. I'll get the elevation from down there, but I think it's about it's around 60. We're at 62 or something. I think it were about 62. I did record it, but my battery ran out on my phone. So if it is 62, the elevation, I'll have to turn. That's why I had two phones, so I could turn one off. I just thought I'd show you around this mound. Whoa! There is sort of a jump. So there's the Brookside Close, and it is close, and it is a brook at the side of it. And that is literally like this sort of standard street of England on the top of there, which is no longer definitely no longer anything to do with Druids or anything like that. We've got Marsden, Mordor. They've actually got a Dark Lord in Time Bandits, haven't they? They've got like that guy who spins round. Oh yeah! They've got him as a Dark Lord, and he spins round in a circle, and then they all fasten onto him with ropes and leads. And I mentioned the maypole earlier in the other video. I mentioned the maypole, but I don't know if it's recorded it or not, because I did the other video and then my battery went on the phone. And I think I heard the video stop on it, and I think it had saved it. I hope it has. So I've just realised I was talking about the maypole, and the strands are going off it, going round, and all the small long barrows on the coast, and then big long barrows in the middle, which are Brigantes bridge pole mast. I've just thought now, in that Time Bandits film, I was talking about the maps and Alex Hogg and John Speed and that, now I've just thought of another thing in the Time Bandits, which is that guy that they've got, the Dark Lord guy, through the glass that you can't see. They're blocking it off so you can't see what's at the other side of it. You can't see the land or realm. And that's almost like them, like I said, they've turned our area into a smoggy area, like, you know, after it kind of sort of like a bit like Mordor. you know, but nobody could really see what's going on or happening, and a lot of people can't now. They're just wanting, oh, another pub, let's have a pub, and all they're bothered about is getting drunk and beer. But we're surrounded by pubs. If there wasn't a pub in Huddersfield, fair enough, but there are pubs everywhere and restaurants everywhere. That's the point. It's just ridiculous. So if this Historic England place, I mean, apparently the tenders haven't even reapplied yet for planning. Well, the council have passed it, but they've put loads of heavy restrictions on opening hours, so we don't know whether the tenders are going to reapply. But they shouldn't really be allowed to. When they did it, if you have a planning breach, how can a council allow it to go forward ever? It's almost like a big advert to everyone, other builders, that they're allowed to break the law and carry on, and there won't be any legal consequences like criminal consequences. So it gives out the message that don't be afraid if you break planning rules, because you'll just end up carrying on. And that's what we're up against. This is what we're up against. That's why one of the reasons, you know, we've got all these protest groups, Next Extinction Rebellion and all these other things, you know. And that's important, because it's sending out the wrong message that you can get away with doing planning breaches and things like that, and no, you won't be criminalised. So if people just keep doing planning breaches all the time, it means they can destroy buildings and knock them down, and then the Tories are saying that they're wanting to get rid of the right to object. Something that's a crime, breaching plannings or not putting notices out so you can object, that's serious. That is a serious thing. Now the Tories just want to make it so it doesn't exist. Oh, if you're supposed to notify people, I'm not notified. Anything they want to do which is not right, which is criminal or bad in the world, they're actually making it legal and encouraging it. Whereas the slightest little thing you say wrong on Facebook or whatever, you're kicked out of a group. I don't know what is wrong with Boris Johnson. I'm not the only person who thinks this and who says it, but that party is criminal, and there's something wrong with them. Some of them now have even been found out to be doing loads of drugs, so they all need testing for drugs. Drugs alter brain plasticity and your reward system and things that you're interested in and what you like in your brain. Now that Tory's been taking cocaine, that means that he will only be interested in and like in his mind things that he likes or he's interested in personally, right? And he won't really get any reward or seeking any pursuit or interest in anything that people are wanting to do that he doesn't like himself. And all the Tories really need drug testing now, all of them, because there's some serious, we've got serious issues in the government, and a lot of it, there are all these issues. And in the late 1800s, when a lot of those drugs were legal, heroin and cocaine, morphine and cocaine were actually legal in that time running up to when the Victoria Tower got put there. So they were likely all on those drugs, and it was affecting the thinking and the minds, and that's why you end up getting all this attack on heritage and stuff like that, and crazy things happening even now today still. And the police, you know, the police are even saying now the police want to work from home, because you're getting all these other channels going around the police stations, you know, like Live Free and all those other channels, audits. All the audit channels on YouTube are going around the police stations. The police don't even want to go into the police station anymore. And when you get discriminated against on a Facebook group, they're just not interested at all. And you can't even serve a legal notice on anyone. You can't serve legal notices on people because they block you. And in the civil procedure rules, you've got to lay documents on all parties if you want to start a case. And Mark Zuckerberg's preventing you from doing that. Mark Zuckerberg's preventing you from laying documents on them. And if you write to Facebook, they never reply. They're not interested. You know, it's too big company for them to even be bothered. So it's like Tories don't want the law to exist. They're writing the law, so anything they like is legal, and anything they don't like is illegal. That's what it comes down to. And that's why they need to be stopped. And I didn't really want to have to go into that. But that's what happens to ancient sites. Entire sites get vandalised and ruined. And then we end up being Brookside Close. Brookside Close. And not Notting Hill even. Brookside Close and Notting Hill. Whoa. Better be careful here, it's a bit slippery. I'll put the elevation, I'll put that elevation back on and see what, I think it was 62 or 63. So it's kind of more or less back now. It's really beautiful. I could take the sound off this and then just put the video on, but we won't be able to hear the birds singing. But I think it's quite important because I think people need to know what's been happening and going on in other parts of the country. People might think, oh, what happened to our site? You know, we had a nice site, and then it, like, you know, and they might kind of realise that if, like, ancient sites that are pre-conquest era have been kind of attacked and rubbished, and I think the archaeologists kind of figure into that as well. They claim that it's all, you know, for progress and investigation, but a lot of them have been really, really damaged, destructive process. And I think they need to kind of wake up to that. It almost makes me think the way it's been blocked off and surrounded is like the sword in the stone sort of thing. You know, in the old courtyard, they've got the old stone with the sword in it, and there's like a fence around it. But it's not like a stone, but a massive hill that's been blocked off. I don't like Disney, to be honest. They're doing a lot of I think Walt Disney, you know, the whole Fantasia thing. It's kind of grouped in with all that camp, particularly from America. Now it's all run by lawyers and legal people, and they're doing some really ridiculous things with the law. So 103 minus 62 41. Is that right? And I'm holding my phone at like hand height, which is about another meter. So I'm on screen record, so I've gone onto camera and I didn't even press record on the camera. I've just I'm just like I've got the phone camera on, but I'm not recording with the phone camera. I'm recording with screen record because I've just done that measurement. So it's about 40 meters high. Around 40 meters, and I've got my phone in my hand, which is an extra 1 meter. Now, the road's at this level, but that's all woodland there, and that's at a level, so I think this has been built up, you know. And then it goes, there's a weir at the side of there. It's a little up and down a little bit, but I think all the valley without concrete and building on it, you know, it's a shame that the entire surrounding area has been attacked by building when there could potentially be some, you know, very important finds around here. Maybe they were secretly, when they were doing the developing and building, maybe those imperial camps were secretly looking for finds, and if they found out, they didn't tell anyone and they're hidden it. Kind of like with the Gundestrup cauldron, because I don't really like that cauldron. I think that it's got Tracy Brabin written all over it, hasn't it? You know, how these people end up getting chosen for things. You know, I think it's like, it's got too much significance with the police chiefs getting them phone lines put in and all that, you know. And you can't carbon date metal. Someone told me that it can't actually, metal itself can't carbon date, so you could melt something down or use metal that was on something else and make it into something different. Particularly get some things from Cornwall or other places. You know, it is possible to do it, and I'm not pick up on it. So we're looking at 40 meters high. Now, on the photos of Oswestry, I need to get a photograph from near this, which has got the house at the same distance away from the hill as the Oswestry photo, so you can make a proper visual evaluation of it. I mean, so this is actually 10 meters higher. I think Oswestry were around 30 meters, from what I can remember. It could be higher then. Could be higher than Oswestry, in which case it definitely is within Hillfort. well, it's Hillfort height, you know. This can't be right. It's saying that the altitude of Old Oswestry is 165 metres. The altitude is 165. Now the altitude of this is 103. So because the altitudes are only 103 metres, this is actually lower down. The top of there, landscape-wise, is lower down than Old Oswestry on the physical landscape, but the actual height, it's saying that it's only 27 metres. I find that hard to believe. I measured that Warrior Hill multiple times, right, and it's 40 metres. Now it's claiming that the height of Old Oswestry is only 27, so it's just under 30. So is that the top deck of it? Is that the top of it? Or the actual, you've got the ramparts around the edge as well, which might go up another metre or two. 27, 29, 30. I think, you know, because it's actually got a perimeter around it, you know, because it's actually got earthworks around it. I think the top of those earthworks are likely to probably maybe be about 30 metres, but the altitude, I think they're going to consider the altitude of it to be the main area of the top of it, which will be the flat part of it, the highest part of the main flat part of it. I would have thought the platform. So I think it'll likely be something like 30. So that's 10 metres. Ours is 10 metres higher, although on a lot of photos you can't really tell, because you can tell it's immense and steep. And actually the angle of attack at Old Oswestry is shallower, even though you've got these massive up and down rifts in it, right? These big sort of like up and down things. The general angle of it, the general sort of diagonal up it is a lot of a lower angle. It's a lower angle, but saying that, each one of the slopes up it likely is going to be very steep, but I don't think that it's as steep as that. So we're looking at higher and steeper, because the slope covers less distance. Although the majority of Old Oswestry is actually taken up in the actual surrounding perimeter of it, actually, a lot of the surface area of it.